All right, so let's bring you to this now. UNICEF South Africa releases its manifesto for Every Child in South Africa 2024, Time to Protect and to Prioritize Children. The manifesto calls for children and young people, the nation's largest and greatest resource, to be put front and center in the country's development. Now let's discuss this further. We're now joined via Teams by Christine Muhigana, UNICEF South Africa representative. Christine, thank you so much for your time. So talk to us about this manifesto and why the need, to launch a children's manifesto as a UNICEF, and also the play on words manifesto.
Absolutely. So manifesto, because it's time for elections, it's time for citizens to voice their choices for authorities, for electors, for leaders, who we hope as UNICEF and along with our partners will put children first. They will prioritize them, and they will make sure that we protect the future of this country.
And just talk to us about some of the issues, and the matters that are raised in this particular manifesto. I mean, it's 2024, and already we know, and we're seeing, of course, children still are being killed in pit latrine toilets that are illegal in this country. Children are drowning at school excursions. Some children are dying from malnutrition, for instance, in various provinces, including the Eastern Cape. I mean, there are so many challenges and problems for children in this country, and one only wonders what it will take, to bring about real change in the country to protect children.
Absolutely. I should, though, start by saying that South Africa has done a lot. A lot has been done to prioritize children, to address the issues that you just mentioned that affect children first and foremost in their communities and in the society of the country. But yet, as you say, there's still issues that affect children that we would like the whole community, the whole range of our partners, government, academia, private sector, civil society, and of course children themselves to address. And this manifesto is calling all of us to protect every child from violence. As you said, lots of crime still affecting children in the country, both physical violence, but also online dangers that our children face when they are on their gadgets, on their phones. We want them to be protected from deadly but preventable diseases. A number of children in this country continue to not be vaccinated from preventable diseases. We have the resources, we have the knowledge. We ought to be able to make sure that every child in this country is vaccinated. We still have children who are affected, children and adolescents who are affected by HIV, and we have a high level of teenage pregnancies in this country. Again, we're calling partners, the whole range of stakeholders in society to join in taking the actions that we know work to protect our children. We want them to be prioritized for quality, relevant, safe and inclusive learning. We know that children are in school in South Africa, but they do not all of them have access to quality education that leads to a productive employment. And perhaps I'll stop here. You may have other questions for me.
Yeah, let's look at, policy decision making. I mean, I've just had a previous interview speaking to a young South African about, the reasons behind why young people are not voting, for instance, in this country, which is important for any democracy. I want to talk about the importance then of including children in policy decision making. I mean, we know, of course, there are so many legislation at the moment that is, directed at children. And how they are affected is important. How important then is it to make this more inclusive, more than we are currently seeing today?
It is absolutely important because you always want the the entity, the individual, the group that's most affected by an issue, to tell you how they are affected, but also to tell you how they see a response being brought to the issues at stake or at hand. And therefore, even though children will not vote, and that's one of the other reasons why we want to issue this manifesto today, we want to add our voice to those to that of children, because we know that even though they have something important to say, they may not necessarily be listened to, because our politicians know that they're not going to be the ones casting a vote because of their age. But one area that we know is important, for example, for children to be heard on, is on climate change. They are bearing the brunt of the impact of climate change. So let's listen to them. Let them tell us how they're impacted, so that we can make sure that the policies and the interventions that we are designing is actually speaking to how these children are affected and how they can be part of the solution, how they can be part of this green economy that we want to put in place in the country.
And perhaps a final one from me. I mean, where can people get their hands on the manifesto? And more importantly, how can this manifesto practically work for children?
So the manifesto is on our website, and perhaps you can help us publicize where it is, where you yourself found it. We're going to make sure that we disseminate it as largely as possible, from your friend, from your family, and to partners, to government. We will make sure that it's out there, and it's actually providing very specific and concrete actions, interventions that can be taken to address the many issues that are affecting children. As we said at the beginning, we're talking about violence, including violence online. We're talking about having access to relevant education, and an inclusive one. We want children to be protected from preventable diseases, from HIV, from teenage pregnancy. We want them to be involved in climate change and in addressing the environmental crisis. You spoke yourself about malnutrition. We don't want stunted children in this country. We don't want severely, acutely malnourished children, and we don't want children who are affected by obesity. And we want, of course, to make sure that we are part of the community that reduces poverty and inequality in this country, because it does affect children first and foremost. So let's protect our children. Let's prioritize them.
Christine Muhigana, thank you so much for your time right here on the show. Of course, Christine is with UNICEF, and that manifesto that is in line with the 29th of May 2024 elections in South Africa can be found, of course, on UNICEF's platform and the SABC channels as well.